A huge celebration just wrapping up as members of the Wisconsin Army National Guard return home after a deployment lasting more than a year in the Middle East.
2 planes touching down at the Appleton International Airport this afternoon. Soldiers on board, the second arriving just about 90 minutes ago now. Jason Zimmerman speaking to those finally coming home, and he joins us now live in Greenville. Jason?
Chris, 200 soldiers were on board those 2 planes this afternoon, and another 200 are expected to arrive back home in the area in the next week or so. This is after spending more than a year in the Middle East, serving in 7 different countries. Now, that reunion took place in the hangar you see right behind me. Activities there wrapped up in the past half an hour. The planes arriving saw friends and family members gathered along the runway, with local firefighters providing a salute using water hoses. The deployment, which began last May, lasting a bit longer than it was originally supposed to as part of Operation Epic Fury. Also on that plane was Ryan Stalker from Appleton, who left for his deployment just days after his son was born. Stalker and his wife telling me it made this moment extra special as the family will now focus on being together moving forward.
This is tremendous. I got to see him for a couple days before leaving on deployment when he was born, and this is kind of like meeting him for the first time. This is little Lancer.
It's huge. I'm not going to be alone anymore. Thank God. I mean, he kept me company, obviously, but yeah, it's going to be nice to actually share him with my husband and be a family again.
The governor also speaking at this afternoon's ceremony, along with several officials from the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Reporting live in Greenville, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.